We want to begin in Mombasa tonight with a new twist to the Mexico maize saga, which has now taken a political turn. Listen to the latest statement by the Deputy President on this very issue.
Saa hizi tumeagiza vyakula. Saa ile chakula imefika, wanaanza kutuambia mbona hii chakula imefika haraka. Wale walikuwa wanataka chakula hii chelewe ndio wapate kazi gani?
Well, today the government says the consignment did not directly come from Mexico. Transport PS Paul Maringa told journalists earlier today that the ship carrying the maize in fact came from South Africa and took 5 days to get to Mombasa. KTN's Francis Ontoma is in the coastal city and now joins us with the details. Francis, it's been an interesting turn of events. I mean, the government is seemingly going out of its way to clear this saga that just won't go away. So are we any closer to getting all the answers?
Well, Yvonne, it depends actually with who you pose that question to, but certainly the government was out to make two important points: that the maize did not directly come from Mexico and that it is the private millers that brought in this particular consignment. Certainly, this is not the end, but just the beginning of this particular saga. Watch this. The process of offloading the first consignment of the imported duty-free maize got underway, even in the middle of the political storm generated by the rapid importation of this particular consignment. Transport PS Professor Paul Maringa making the trip to monitor what the government says will ease the pain of Kenyans at the dinner table. But the government official had many questions to answer.
I want to read some basic statistics for you. For example, the maize has been imported originally from Mexico, rerouted through South Africa, Durban Port. And since we ordered the maize, it was brought in here within 5 days. It's fresh maize, well stored. And gentlemen and ladies, this is white maize, not yellow maize, white maize, for the avoidance of doubt.
Only last week, Agriculture CS was in Mombasa to receive the consignment, but now the government says it was never involved in the importation.
I'm happy to say the awaited maize which we have imported, which is supposed to stabilize our prices in the country, the first ship is what we are seeing today.
This maize was imported competitively through private importers. All right, we have Kitui Flour Mills that has imported 10,000 tons. Pembe Flour Mills has imported 10,000 tons. And High Dairy P Limited, 9,900 tons. The reason why I give this specific information, all right, is to dissuade any Kenyan from the speculation that government is doing business within itself. This is not my private company. These are publicly known companies.
The state says the maize was imported into South Africa last year from Mexico when there was a shortage in that country. It is the excess of wheat stored in Durban that was sold to Kenya by Inter-Africa Grains Pty of Johannesburg. The PS says it took 5 days to ship the package to Kenya.
Do you know how ships operate? You have big ships hanging around in the ocean. It's business, looking for places to sell. Maize. So the maize was imported from Mexico into South Africa under storage. All right, and then we are picking it up from there. And that's why we are able to order and get it within 5 days. Durban is not far from where we are.
Peter Otieno is a Mombasa-based expert in the imports and exports business. He says that the process of importation of maize is not a mysterious one.
In Kenya, we have very good skimmers. They skim things. After skimming, they look for a law that is going to favor them. And they will never go wrong when they want to do something. The reason why I'm saying this is, if you want order for cargo from any country, you have first to negotiate for rates.
Well, this is the consignment that the state says will help now stabilize the prices of Kenya's staple food ugali. But local operators here say depending on weather changes, this process may actually take less than 24 hours to complete the offloading. Out of the 30,000 metric tons of maize imported, 5,100 metric tons have already been collected by various millers for processing. On the 24th of this month, another ship carrying 37,050 metric tons of maize will dock at the port of Mombasa. But even as the efforts get underway, the government is still under pressure to find lasting solutions.
There are people who are very close to the power and they knew this thing is forthcoming. So they arranged themselves and ordered for this cargo much earlier. So that such that by the time the cargo is almost docking, the vessel is almost docking, the law has already been passed.
And so, Yvonne, quite a confusing state of affairs there by the state. But of course, the government keep insisting that this is just the first step in trying to stabilize the prices of Kenya's staple food ugali.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Francis Ontomwa. Indeed, I think what Kenyans really want is cheaper food on their tables and how to make sure this doesn't become a perennial issue, as we have seen in the last couple of years. Francis Ontomwa from Mombasa, thank you very much.